Yes, that's right. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is just around the corner, but I'm sure everyone has probably had a ton going on in their lives and has probably forgotten all about the Bahrain Grand Prix. Or you're like me and has gone and researched every detail I can find so that I do remember. Let's digress for race recap of the Bahrain Grand Prix. In qualifying, a lot of the hype was on Aston Martin. At the front, it was pretty self-explanatory. Max Verstappen was on pole position, but only by around 1/10 to teammate Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc ended up in P3. He didn't actually go out for his final lap, with Ferrari saying that they wanted Charles Leclerc to have an extra set of fresh soft tyres for the race. Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin actually ended P5. Mercedes had a pretty poor qualifying, honestly. They finished P6 and 7. Lance Stroll, he actually missed testing because he had some injuries after a bicycle accident, got to Q3 and finished P8, which was really incredible. McLaren had an absolute terrible time, with Oscar Piastri finishing P18. Even Lando Norris, with all of his talent, could only get P11s. Pierre Gasly also had a bit of a shocking qualifying. He actually got his final lap deleted and he ended the qualifying in P20. But now let's get on to what everyone's here for, the race. Lap 1, Perez lost ground to Charles Leclerc and ended the first lap in P3. Stroll had a pretty shocking first lap as he would overshoot his braking point and actually would rear end Fernando Alonso. On lap 18, Alonso fought his way through and reached George Russell, and he managed to overtake him for P6 in the race. The race settled down for a bit until Perez went and overtook the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc and made it a 1-2 for Red Bull. Between lap 37 and lap 38, Fernando caught up to Lewis Hamilton and had a thrilling battle, then going side by side with Lewis Hamilton to go up the inside of turn 10. So at this point, the race settled down. The Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz were P3 and 4. Wasn't the greatest start, but you know, at least they were just going to finish the race, and that's really all they had to do. But this is Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc then DNF'd with an engine failure. This was actually perfect for Pierre Gasly, who was making his way up the field from last place, and he actually managed to pit under this virtual safety car, which would allow him to fight for some points at the end of the race. Once the race had restarted, on lap 45, Fernando Alonso caught up to Carlos Sainz. If Fernando could get this move done, he would finish his first race with Aston Martin with a podium. Once again, Fernando showed off some brilliant action for us all to witness, and Sainz would actually lock up into turn 10, meaning that Fernando would then get him on the straight with DRS. So, at the end of the race, Max Verstappen won the race once again. He would win the Grand Prix by 11 seconds. It was pretty much Red Bull domination the whole weekend. Fernando Alonso had finally made his dream debut, finishing P3 on the podium for Aston Martin. Lance Stroll actually managed to fight his way through the field and actually ended the race in P6. Pierre Gasly also made an incredible drive after a terrible qualifying with that virtual safety car and overtaking his way through the field over the course of the race. He finished the race in P9, scoring valuable points for Alpine. Esteban Ocon would have a terrible time in the other Alpine, getting 3 different penalties over the course of the race. Williams actually had a really good start to the season. Alexander Albon would actually finish in P10, scoring a point. If it wasn't very apparent, McLaren had a terrible weekend. Piastri would actually DNF from the race, so he wouldn't even finish, and Norris would have a ton of issues, meaning he would be in the pits multiple times, and he would actually finish the race in last place. So, main talking points: Aston Martin seemed to be the second quickest car. Red Bull look as dominant as ever. Ferrari are just Ferrari, so I guess we haven't learned that much about them. And McLaren look really slow, like really slow. So yeah, that's pretty much all the main talking points from the Bahrain Grand Prix. I guess I'll see you in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, I gotta go. So later.